Hi, hey, hello, and welcome to the 70th episode of the Educated Fan. My name is Brandon, and I am joined here by your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore, sporting an ugly hat. How are you today, kind sir?
Most beautiful hat in all of college basketball. Hey, and football. I use a football school now, if you hadn't heard.
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm fired up. It's draft season. We're 8 days away now from the first round of the NFL draft, and it's time for the best part of the offseason for the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm pretty fired up about it, and we got quite a few prospects to talk about today. But hey, you did a little something while you were away. How was that?
Well, I went and performed my duties as best man in my cousin's wedding. Also enjoyed, a whole week in South Carolina. Gave a speech. It was a hell of a speech. Told my cousin. I was like, hey, I forgot. Am I supposed to be doing a speech? He goes, yeah, like I was expecting you to, but if not, like I can always just say a little something and, send the good people on their way. I was like, buddy, I talk into a microphone in front of, however many people every week. It's fine. I'm good at it. Millions of people. I talk on the mic to millions. Yeah, tons of people every week. But yeah, it was a good time. It was nice and warm. I planned a hell of a bachelor party. Deep sea fishing. Okay, nice. And check this. Everything we caught, we took right to this place off the dock that our captain docks off of, and they cooked our fish for us right there in their restaurant and brought it out to us. So we caught the fish, ate the fish right away. So, fish weren't even dead for 3 hours. And then we went axe throwing and went to dinner. And then we were supposed to go to a cigar bar, and we were dead. It was no cigar bar for us. So, but yeah, it was a good week. Draft season for me is until the actual draft itself, more work than it is fun.
You're learning, though.
I am learning. I just don't pay very close attention to college football. I'm not like you. I don't like going back and watching film on these college players, but I do some reading. I do some research. I think about what the Colts need, and I go hunting for what's going to help them out. This is the second season to do this. The first season was a little more fun. It was first time digging into this stuff, but come the mock draft, I think we're going to have some fun. But yeah, we do have some prospects to talk about today, Andrew. Let's just dive into it. Today we're going to be talking about the Colts offensive draft needs. And Andrew, we had a little meeting before this, so we didn't have as much time to prep here together like we do. So we're going to go through some things here and then go through the different positions and kind of talk about, I think, what we need in those specific positions, what we're looking for out of people and players and the skill sets we're looking for. But let's talk about the Colts draft philosophy, Andrew.
So you hear this all the time. Or do teams go with a need in the draft, or do they go best player available? Tell you this right now, the Indianapolis Colts are pretty much always best player available. Chris Ballard, ever since he's been in Indy, he doesn't lock into a position of need and always takes it. He always wants to get the top tier talent, as seen last year when we drafted Jonathan Taylor. Running back was not a position of need for us, but Jonathan Taylor was there. The Colts were very high on him, and they went and got him. And look, now it looks like we're going to have a top 5 running back for the foreseeable future.
Turns out he's really good at football.
He's very good at football. So, and that's how you get a good team is you constantly take the best player available, which is going to make your team better all around. Now that's not to say that the best player available won't also be at a spot of a need. We've got left tackle, edge rush. We've got multiple positions that need addressed here in this draft, but the Colts are going to go best player available, and if it's close between the best player and another player that fills a need, then typically that's where need will edge out. But best player available has shown over the years to be the best draft strategy as far as best player versus need.
Now, that doesn't go to say that, you know, if there were, let's say we were drafting a little, you know, higher up in the draft, a little better pick, that doesn't mean we're going to go draft the best left guard in the draft. That doesn't mean we're going to go draft, you know, a potential starting quarterback if we got the chance. You know, those are a couple positions, at least we hope, that we're setting. You know, within reason, the Colts are going to draft best available. It's not a black and white thing. There's some gray involved. There's discussions involved. Chris Ballard's not an idiot. But yeah, Andrew, like you said, the best player available has been, you know, our typical move, Chris Ballard's typical move. But we're going to have some targets, I think, position-wise, and we're going to have some hopes. And there's, you know, we'll probably shift, you know, maybe a pick or two off of Chris's value that they finally come up with people. Trading back, Andrew, this draft especially is always a possibility. And I don't know what points you have on this, but I was thinking about it today, and I think especially teams that aren't super confident in their drafting ability in the first place, like the Rams or the Texans. Texans do okay, I guess. They got Hopkins and Watson, but anywho, these teams that maybe aren't as great, and teams in general, are going to be scared this draft. You know, they don't have a lot of tape necessarily to go off of some teams. Like, I know there was college football this year, but some leagues only played a few games. Some leagues didn't play at all. Plenty of players opted out, and those players are still good football players. So, the scouts and the GMs might be a little. I don't know if I trust the tape we have here. It's not recent enough, stuff like that. They might be more willing to trade back, especially teams too that the GMs and the coaches' jobs are secure right now. They might want to trade back and earn more picks for next year when they're going to have a full season of tape again.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts, Chris Ballard, we've seen this since 2017 again. He loves to trade back.
It's just the thing he likes to do any year.
A famous Chris Ballard quote is, "I love them picks," and he really does, because one of his main philosophies is the more picks you have, the more shots at the dartboard you have, the more opportunities you're going to have to hit on a player. And I think especially it runs true this year as well, because the Colts gave up a 3rd round pick for Carson Wentz, and it's probably going to be a 1st round pick next year. So the Colts are already have only 6 picks, which is the least amount of picks that they've ever had under Chris Ballard. So if there isn't a bona fide star or a blue card player, which we'll talk about what that is here in a bit, at 21, the Colts are in a prime position to trade down, so they can acquire maybe another 3rd round pick, maybe a pick next year, or another 4th round pick, another mid round pick where Chris Ballard has found guys like Julian Blackmon, like Kari Willis, Grover Stewart, Marlon Mack, all of these guys, Anthony Walker, all these guys in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round that have been major contributors to this team and filled a really big prominent role. So you're always going to hear that Chris Ballard is looking to trade back, especially if there is a group of guys that he thinks is going to be available in the spot that they trade back to. Like in 2019, when they were sitting there at 26, they said they had about a group of about 8 guys, that 8 to 10 guys that they really liked, and they thought that some of those guys would be available at pick number 34. So they trade out of that pick. They get the pick number 34, which ends up being Rock Ya-Sin, and then they add a 2nd round pick the next year, which ends up being Michael Pittman Jr. So trading back for Chris Ballard, always very prominent and always something to look at and really expect if you're watching closely as a Colts fan.
And typically, the trade back results in more picks, and those picks can also be used for trades or possibly moving up in another draft as well. So the Dolphins have had a ton of picks recently, and they seem to be trading them all over the place, somehow still coming out with as many picks as they had before. Mind blown what that team's doing with them picks that Chris Ballard loves so much too. Blue card guy. Chris Ballard's all about these blue card players. I've heard other teams call them like blue chip. Same difference, basically. Essentially, this guy's going to be a guy that is good on the field and good off the field. Tons of character, hardworking, hopefully consistent. I don't know. Would you think not getting hurt a lot, being injury resistant, I guess, would be included in the blue chip, or is it just more, do you think about personality and play?
It's more about football character. And I was actually in preparation for this, I actually went back and listened to one of our old episodes when we got to be in that Zoom meeting with Chris Ballard and him explaining what a blue card player is. And it kind of started when he was in Chicago, where they give it to a guy that has very high football character, because when you're dissecting these prospects, not a single prospect is a guaranteed home run unless you're Quentin Nelson. But here's the thing, the football character standpoint, Chris Ballard always says talent determines a guy's ceiling, but their football character determines their floor. So they know when you're going after guys and you draft guys with high football character, they're not necessarily going to be bust. Their bust potential drops considerably. Mm-hmm. And this is where Brian Decker has a huge role within the Colts facility. Brian Decker is the director of player personnel. He is a guy that was a former Green Beret on the U.S. Special Forces.
Right.
And he really drills these prospects on their character to find what makes them tick. How much do they love football? How much do they care about their teammates? Because again, the locker room drives this thing, and the Colts are always going to be looking for guys of high character, probably more than any other team. So guys with blue card are high football character. A lot of them are team captains on their teams in college. A lot of them go to the Senior Bowl, and really it's guys that the Colts say only about maybe 8 to 10 guys in the entire draft class get this blue card label. So it's the football character, but as well as from what Ed Dodds has brought into it, it's more of that grit and that toughness too, that's a part of it. So it's guys that the Colts are really high on, guys that the Colts will really dive into. There were multiple guys the Colts picked last year that were blue card guys, and it looked, that rookie class last year was pretty damn phenomenal. So if we can keep that up, pretty good chance those guys are going to succeed.
All right, Andrew. Let's talk about first our picks. Colts have, like you said, 6 picks, 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. No third round pick. We traded that away for Carson Wentz. Partially that plus more for Carson Wentz. We got the 21st overall, 54th, which is like the 22nd in the second round as well. Mm-hmm. And so on. So, 6 picks could be worse. We still might end up with more, like you said, if we trade back. Needs for the Colts, Andrew, and you just want to do this one group at a time? Let's start out with left tackles.
Yeah, let's just start out with left tackle.
What's the type of player we're looking for at the left tackle position, Andrew? And obviously, we'll go over some guys that we think fit.
So the Colts, when it comes to the left tackle position, they want a guy that's very strong and fundamentally sound. A lot of the times when you talk about the Colts offensive line, like a Quentin Nelson, like a Ryan Kelly, Braden Smith, these guys are very fundamentally sound. And Chris Strausser, the Colts offensive line coach, he really preaches the fundamentals and really focuses on that. That's something that this Colts offensive line really is one of the keys to their success. So that's first and foremost. And then you kind of think of what the mold of Anthony Castonzo was. He was really good in pass protection. Anthony Castonzo, Frank Reich talked about it all the time, where he would hardly need any help. Even against the best edge rushers in the league, Anthony Castonzo could go out there one-on-one with these guys, handle his own, and they really wouldn't have to worry about him. So that's again, number one. And when you're blocking for Carson Wentz's blind side, that's going to be a top priority. And then again, solid in the run game. Do you remember all those times where Anthony Castonzo would set the edge, or it'd be him and Quentin Nelson really double teaming and opening up that left side for a big Marlon Mack or a Jonathan Taylor to run? So Anthony Castonzo, I think, is what the Colts are going to look for. Someone that can be both good in pass protection and as well as the run game, be really sound fundamentally, and a guy that you don't have to worry about. And especially in this offensive tackle draft class, it is very, very deep. There are a lot of very good, very talented tackles in this draft class that the Colts are going to have opportunities to take multiple of these guys, whether it is in the first round, whether they trade back a little bit, whether they take them in the second round. There's a good 6, 7, 8 top left tackles in this draft, or right tackles even, that would fill a starting spot immediately. So it's going to be how exactly the board falls on draft night. But I think just hearing what Chris Ballard has said, what Jim Irsay has said, left tackle is probably seen as priority number one for the Indianapolis Colts this draft.
I would agree, left tackle being priority number one, and probably our pick. Hopefully, I hope our pick in that first round. I don't want to give up that 21st pick personally, but I'm selfish. You know how I am. Christian Dareus, Andrew, is the guy you had listed first. Virginia Tech guy, 3-year starter, 6'4", 322 pounds, only missed 2 games in college.
Right. One his freshman year, and then one last year due to left knee injury. He was first team all ACC last year. Christian Dareus is a monster. Like you said, 6'4", almost 6'5", 322 pounds. He's got a wingspan of 82 and almost 83 inches. That's huge. It's just a big body guy. Yeah. And some things that match up with kind of what I was talking about, what the Colts are looking for. He's really quick out of his stance. And he with that huge body that he has, he's able to shield off defenders. And he's got very physical hands too. He's not afraid to really grab onto guys, not necessarily hold them, but he's not afraid to get in contact with guys. And he really stays patient, I would say, when not only in his pass sets, but also against the run too. He stays patient, but he's able to make those blocks. And one thing we've always talked about with the guys that the Colts love, their football character and their work ethic. And work ethic is something that Christian Dareus is definitely known for. He's a guy that he wasn't a very highly recruited guy coming out of high school. He actually had to go to a military school.
He's from 45 minutes from where I'm at right now.
Oh wow. So he had to go to a military school before he even got to Virginia Tech to play football. So the kid's got the work ethic in him now. Now there is some weaknesses to his game. He does give up some ground, and there is a tendency for him to not maybe finish his blocks, I would say.
Don't love that.
You see in the tape, because there's some, you've seen Quentin Nelson drives guys into the ground, really finishes. Christian Dareus, that's something of a question. Sometimes in the tape, you'll see him kind of give up a little bit, or you'll see him not completely finish it. So that's definitely a concern.
And something I read, a sentence was that once he wins, it's like the play's over for him. There's a whole other linebacker back there. Maybe your guy broke off and you could grab a block on a random guy chasing after him. But yeah, I mean, other than that, everything I read, positive stuff.
Yeah. So if that's something that he can develop, and maybe just being in the culture of the Colts offensive line, when you've got a Quentin Nelson, got Ryan Kelly, the two leaders of this offensive line. That's something I think you can develop. And if you don't, those guys are going to get on you. Those are the type of leaders and the type of accountability that they demand. So Christian Dareus, he's an incredible talent. I would have him probably as my third tackle in this class. He's got like 35 starts over the past 3 seasons, so he's got plenty of experience. So if he could just tighten that up and become more of a consistent finisher, he's got an incredible body. He's got perfect form for in pass protection and as a bulldozer in the run game. And I think he can be the future left tackle over the left tackle for the Colts for 10 years at least. So if he's there at 21, I think those are one of the guys that the Colts would stay put for, because the Colts have been in contact with him too. I've heard from multiple guys that the Colts really like him, and they've been in contact with him multiple times throughout the draft process. So definitely one to watch next Thursday night.
Andrew, Skylar would like to let you know that you sound great. Your light's great. You look great, pal. You'd look even better Skylar. Bald.
Not yet. We're not going Chrome Dome quite yet.
Andrew, I've got a guy that you didn't have on your list here. And I want to see if I can guess. In his junior year.
Yeah, so the reason I think the Colts do have their eyes on Tevin Jenkins, but the one thing that does concern me, and one thing that I think might put him down just a little bit lower on the Colts board might be that he's primarily a right tackle, and that's where I'm hearing most of the teams in the league view him as a right tackle at the next level. And while you think, if you have a right tackle, you can just put him at left tackle, we've heard from multiple guys all around the NFL that and even Anthony Castonzo, that each individual position on the line is different. So that's why when people say, just take Braden Smith and throw him over to the left side, or just move Quentin Nelson outside. That way. Not that simple. I mean, it's basically if you're a right-handed golfer and then you ask the guy to golf left-handed, completely backwards. So that's why I'm thinking if the Colts are looking for a tackle, they're going to get a guy and draft a guy that has played primarily left tackle, because they don't want to have this. The more pro ready their guy is, the better they're going to win, because there won't be that huge transition period of basically learning the other side. So, I mean, Tevin Jenkins, I think is a phenomenal football player, but as far as what the Colts might be looking at, I think they would probably go towards one of the guys that played more of a left tackle throughout their entire college career.
Sure. YouTube didn't hear anything about Tevin Jenkins for me. They heard everything you had to say. So Andrew didn't pick Tevin Jenkins to be on his board, but you know what? Listen, you guys go back, listen to the podcast at about 23 minutes. You'll figure it out. Also, while you're on this page right now, hit the like button. If you have yet to do so, hit the subscribe button. And then remember to go like it and comment after it's posted and not just live streamed. Anyhow, let's move it along, Andrew. You've got next Liam Eichenberg, the man out of Notre Dame, 3-year starter, 6'6", 306 pounds. Him and I share a birthday.
Yeah, you do.
And he started all games the last 3 years.
Now, for me, being able to watch, since my fiance is a huge Notre Dame fan, watched a lot of Notre Dame over the past few years. And Liam Eichenberg, I remember talking about him early in the year. I was like, that's the Colts' future left tackle is Liam Eichenberg.
Sure. He played with Quentin, correct?
He was, I think, a freshman, Quentin's last year. He like redshirted, and then he was like a redshirt freshman in Quentin's last year.
Carry on.
But once Quentin left, he started every game at left tackle since. He's got 38 starts at left tackle. He was first team All ACC last year. Like you said, 6'6", 306 pounds. He's doesn't have the longest arms that you might want to see. They're only about 32 inches, which typically the Colts like to have their linemen, especially their tackles, have long arms. But still, at 6'6" and 306 pounds, he's really got solid size. And one thing that you notice in the tape is he's very aggressive at the point of attack. So when a rusher is coming, he's very aggressive to get his hands on the rusher and able to really get them under control. Again, kind of like Christian Dareus in the tape, he showed me that he had some he's very patient in his pass sets, and he's got very good fundamentals. Very smart player. The Colts love the guys that are smart. They love guys that show they're fundamentally sound. So that's something that the Colts, I think, were happy to see. And he's just, you can see that with all these Notre Dame offensive linemen, you can see the violence they play with. Quentin Nelson, how violent he plays with. Liam Eichenberg's the same way, very violent when he's playing. So that's good to see. And durability. What's one thing that I always tell you? The best availability or the best ability is availability. Liam Eichenberg didn't miss a single game over those 3 years. So that's huge. But I think the biggest knock on Eichenberg, and something that definitely the Colts will be aware of, is he's an average athlete. Usually the Colts want their players to be very athletic, meet a certain criteria.
Got T-Rex arms too.
T-Rex arms like myself. But
like Danny Pinter.
Yeah, Danny Pinter. But so that's one thing that isn't working in his favor. And then sometimes he can't, because he is so aggressive, he can get beat because of that aggressiveness. So that's something I think he just needs to kind of settle into. But like I said, I mean, he's very fundamentally sound, not only as a pass blocker, but in the run game as well. He plays very under control, but he does make some mistakes because he is being over aggressive. So I think if he can get reined in a little bit, he is a very good left tackle option. And again, someone that I could see lining up next to Quentin Nelson and being the Colts left tackle for many years to come.
Do you think, though, body type wise, he's a better fit for a guard in the NFL? Obvious college tackle, but right there in that gray area where maybe he'd have to move inside?
I know some teams think he's best at guard. I don't think so. When watching the tape, for me, I think he is best as a left tackle. I think because there's a lot of guys that when you turn on the tape, you see him and it's like, they'd probably be better as a guard. Like Rashawn Slater, he could be better as a guard, even though he's the number 2 tackle prospect. They're like, some people think Alex Leatherwood, who we're going to talk about here in a bit, could be a guard. But I think Liam Eichenberg, as far as from what I see on the film, he's best as a tackle.
All right, let's talk about Leatherwood. Andrew, is he listed in the Beast? By Dane Brugler? Dane Krugler? Brugler, athletic writer who puts together the most comprehensive draft prospect list on the planet. Is he listed as a guard in there? Because he is not on the top tackle list.
He is listed as a guard in his list. Brugler sees him more as a guard. With Leatherwood, I think he can play tackle, and I think that's for the Colts draft him. Obviously, that's where he can play.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about him. I don't know a damn thing about him, other than he went to Alabama.
So Alex Leatherwood. One more thing. Before we get on Leatherwood, this is big. Chris Ballard and Frank Reich were at Notre Dame's Pro Day to see Eichberg and some other prospects but Chris Ballard and Frank Reich normally don't go to Pro Days. They were at Eichenberg's.
This year's different.
It's different, but at the same time.
It's different because of no combine. So, I mean, the only option they have is Pro Days.
I mean, no combine, but still.
Didn't I say combine? Did I say draft?
I don't know.
No combine.
You get it. But Ballard still doesn't go to very many. He goes to ones that are very important. So he did go to Notre Dame's, and he also went to Alabama, where Alex Leatherwood is. So Alex Leatherwood is a monster, an absolute monster. He's a very big boy. And you look at his size, and it's just he sticks out so much. I think and this is a guy that when we talked about earlier, we talked about him being or talked about those blue card guys. Alex Leatherwood is a blue card guy. Mm-hmm. He was a guy that started a ton of games there at the University of Alabama. I think he started 41 games. He was first team All-American at left tackle, first team All-SEC. He was the Outland Trophy winner, which is the best offensive lineman in the country. And he was a team captain. Team captain, hard worker. It's a guy that's going to fit the blue card model that the Colts look for. So he's 6'4", almost 6'5". He's got a wingspan of 84.5 inches. Huge wingspan. Got those very, very long arms. So he's wide-hipped, big body. But the thing is, he's big, but he stays light on his feet too. So in the tape, you see him move very quickly and able to get in front of rushers, even though he has such a big body, which is key because if he was to play at like the guard position, mm-hmm. with that big body, he might be a little bit slower to get outside and get in front of those rushers. But he didn't seem like he had any trouble with that. He's a very hard worker in the running game, and he's able to turn guys as well. Very physical with his hands. And here's something about his personality. It says he's reserved, just a no nonsense, and he's very reliable and a hard worker. And that
sounds like a guy I know named Big Q.
Yeah, exactly. They'd be a pretty good tandem. We talked about he started every single game his last 3 seasons, 41 starts, and he was voted a team captain. So this guy really has everything you're looking for in a quality prospect for the Colts. He does have a little bit of stiffness in his lower body, and it kind of hurts him when he does get beat. A lot of times he doesn't have the ability to recover as quickly. So that's definitely a concern. But overall, I think Leatherwood is a guy that the Colts, if the Colts wanted to wait till maybe the second round, Eichenberg and Alex Leatherwood could be available there in the second round to get those guys for their left tackle choice. But I think Leatherwood, like I said, a lot of people think he's going to have to move inside to guard. I don't think so. I think he can be a left tackle,
especially with those arms.
Right, he's got very long arms, and I think with just more fine tuning with how hard he works, I think he could be a very solid left tackle in the league.
And that's it for left tackles.
Those are my top 3 guys. One guy.
Oh, I missed one. Sorry.
Not going to really get into him, but Sam Cosmi out of Texas, he's kind of like Anthony Castonzo light. So if you watch him, and if the Colts take him, don't be surprised. He could fit right into that mold as well.
Sure. Wide receivers, Andrew, another spot we're looking at. I would say, in my opinion, our second most needed offensive draft need. Maybe not second overall, probably, but what are we looking for? I can't decide if we should be looking for another big guy to go along with Pittman, who maybe isn't as good of a route runner as Pittman, but Pittman's already good at 50-50 balls, but just another guy that can climb the ladder, or are we looking for maybe a smaller T.Y. Hilton type replacement? Smaller guy, maybe start out in the slot this year, and earn a spot on the outside if Paris Campbell doesn't next year. Good route runner, can rely on him on quick slants, get open, maybe in those mid-tier routes. What do you think is most important wide receiver wise this year?
So it's funny you say that. So when I was looking back at all the wide receivers that Chris Ballard has drafted to kind of find the mold, and something really stood out. Other than one player, and it was Tyreek Hill, Chris Ballard has never drafted a wide receiver that was smaller than 6 foot and weighed less than 200 pounds.
And some people call Tyreek Hill the best wide receiver in football.
It takes a very unique talent for Chris Ballard to break that mold.
I know of one.
When you're thinking of a wide receiver that, and honestly, since the Colts re-signed T.Y. Hilton, this need might not be at the very top of the list for the Colts, but it's definitely something to look towards, because T.Y. Hilton's only on a 1-year deal and he's not getting any younger. Paris Campbell hasn't been able to stay healthy. Zach Pascal, while he's here this year on the restricted free agent deal, he'll be an unrestricted free agent next year. So we do have to think about that and continue to add depth and potential future pieces to this wide receiver group, because Michael Pittman Jr. can't do it alone. So like I said, the guys that, if you're wanting to look at receivers the Colts might take, guys that are at least 6 foot, at least 200 pounds, and guys that are physical and are really willing to block down the field. You hear it all the time with Michael Pittman, with Zach Pascal, even T.Y. Hilton, T.Y. Hilton. Those guys get in there and block, and they try their hardest, and they really focus on block and take a pride in it. And then finally, yards after catch ability. The Colts love guys that can produce yards after the catch. Guys like Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell, even Nyheim Hines, if you want to throw him in there. So that's something that is very crucial to the Colts, and that kind of builds the receiver that they're looking for. Big body, physical, can make yards after the catch. All right.
So let's start out with who you think. Now, I guess we're guessing this isn't going to happen until at least our second round pick. So any of the big names you guys might know, we're probably not talking about those, except I'm hearing rumors, Andrew, that Devontae Smith, from Alabama.
Marvin Harrison 2.0, yes.
Yes. I've heard some rumors that he is starting to lose a little draft stock because of his weigh in at a feather and a 10-pound weight.
Man's a little over 6 foot, but only weighs 166 pounds.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's the Heisman Trophy winner, and that boy catches everything. So if I was Chris Ballard and that boy falls to 21,
he fell to 21. Sorry, left tackle.
I mean, this is a deep offensive tackle class. We can get Liam Eichenberg in the second round. I take Devontae Smith to turn that card in right now.
I don't think he falls that far.
I don't think Devontae Smith falls that far.
He could fall outside the top 10.
I think he could. I don't think he gets past 15. I don't think he gets past 15 at New England. I think New England would take him in a heartbeat. But
okay, all right.
But
anywho, Andrew, first on your list, I'll let you say it. I've been stealing them from you.
This is a guy that I think can go at the very bottom of the first round, maybe top of the second, and it's Terrace Marshall Jr. from LSU. A guy that's 6 foot 2.5, weighs 205 pounds, so he fits that mold that Chris Ballard is looking for. And he's a guy that comes out of LSU where it just seems like they year after year after year produce incredible wide receiver talent. In 2019, when he was with Joe Burrow, he was 4th in the SEC in receiving touchdowns. He had 13 touchdowns. And the only reason he didn't break LSU's record for touchdowns that year was because Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson were on that team as well. And
Yeah.
he had more touchdowns than him. So he's a guy that definitely brings in the touchdowns. And then last year he had 10 touchdowns himself. So in the past 2 years, he's had 23 touchdowns. So it's a guy that loves to find the end zone. And not only does he have a big body, he's got some speed as well. He ran a 4.40 at his pro day, and he had a vertical of 39 inches. So the boy can leap up and really snag the ball. And I think that's something that the Colts kind of lack. They've got Michael Pittman Jr. as a big bodied wide receiver, 6'4", 220 pounds. But we didn't see that red zone threat that we thought we were going to see with Michael Pittman. Now,
I think
that could change this year.
I think big time it could, especially with the change at quarterback.
With Carson Wentz, it definitely could, but you can never have enough red zone threats, and I think that's an area that the Colts kind of struggled a little bit last year. But he's a really fat, like, not, I wouldn't say fast athlete.
Oh, you said fat.
No, he's not fat. Definitely not fat.
Big boy.
He's a guy that he takes really long strides. It doesn't look like he's running very fast, but he can cover a lot of ground quickly. I definitely noticed that in his film. And again, he's a guy that's physical. He can finish through the catch point. He's very capable of breaking tackles to get that yards after catch ability. And he's a deep threat too. He averaged 15 yards a catch in his senior year. So he can definitely make plays down the field. And I mean, I already talked about the red zone numbers and the touchdowns. One thing that might be a little bit of an issue is just some concentration drops, I should say. He had about 5 of those last year, which I've heard Frank Reich say that he doesn't mind drops as much as long as it doesn't continue to happen. So that's something to be aware of. And then as far as his blocking is concerned, he's okay, but for his size, you would expect him to be a little bit bigger. Sure. Not that he's not a willing blocker. You can definitely see that on the film. It's just the outcome of the blocks isn't outstanding.
Yep.
Marshall, I think it's very unlikely he goes to the Colts, because I think he'll be picked before the Colts would think about picking a wide receiver. But if he does fall to the middle of the second round and the Colts have a pick in that area, they could pull the trigger on Marshall, and I think he'd be a very solid fit for the Colts offense.
Now, I don't think they should, but I know they're going to hold opt-outs. I think teams are going to hold that against players, and you don't love football like you should, and everybody that opted out has their own reason. You know what? And if it's just that they wanted a year off football, I don't blame them. To be honest, they're been playing football their whole life, but realistically it's, who's that corner that opted out that's so damn good?
Caleb Farley.
His mom died of cancer. His dad, is older. He didn't want to get him sick. You know what I mean? Everybody's got their own personal reason for that. Do you hold opt-outs against people? Like, because obviously Terrence Marshall's the first receiver you picked. He opted out after 7 games. I thought maybe that would be the reason you didn't like Tevin Jenkins, but then you had Marshall in here, so I assume you don't hold that against guys.
No, and the thing is, with the abbreviated season, after 7 games, they only played maybe 8 or 9 games, so it's not like they opted out halfway through the season. So Terrence Marshall, right, and a lot of these guys, I don't mind if you opt out, but what I think teams and myself, for my opinion, is if you opted out and you come to your pro days and you look like you're out of shape, you look like you haven't been training. If you're opted out, you can opt out of the season, but I would expect you to still be working on your craft, because it's not just taking a year off to take a year. Yeah, you need to work on getting better and things like that. And as far as for like Tevin Jenkins, he didn't do that. I think he mostly did it to work towards the draft, because OSU wasn't going anywhere in the postseason. Same with Terrace Marshall. LSU really didn't have that great of a season, so he probably could use his time better at that point in time to focus on the draft and focus on getting better and going to the pros.
Awesome. Yeah, and only missed 3 games to injury. Did you already say that?
Yes, I did. Very durable.
Love that. I have one, Andrew. This is my only receiver that I had that you didn't hear, and maybe a little home team love. Rondale Moore, Purdue, 3-year starter. Only 5'7", but still weighs more than Devontae Smith at 181. Ran a 4.31
Mm-hmm.
4.31. His freshman year, he was an All-American, the first ever Big Ten freshman to achieve that feat. Big Ten wide receiver of the year as did I say freshman or did I say rookie? Same difference. Freshman. You get what I mean. As a freshman, along with some other accolades. Only downside to him is the last 2 years he's missed 11 games. Touchdown numbers went way down because of that, but I mean he had a ton of touchdowns his freshman year. Great route runner.
Yeah.
I think he fits that second version of wide receiver that I think we could need. But after you gave that fun Chris Ballard stat, I'm not so hopeful for Rondale Moore.
I just don't know if he meets the criteria that the Colts are looking for receivers. I'm not gonna argue with you. Rondale Moore, I'm a huge fan of his. He's an unbelievable talent. Kid is very quick. Injuries kind of scare me with him, especially missing so many games the past 2 years, and we're already dealing with a wide receiver that seems like he can't stay healthy. But
Skyler, no, Andrew's not related to him. Just to get that out of the way.
We are not related. But if he could overcome that, I think there is a place for Rondale Moore in this league. I think he'd be a phenomenal slot guy and some guy that can definitely produce in the league.
All right, Andrew, 45 minutes in, and we're still rolling here. Let's move it along to your next receiver, Nico Collins, Michigan, 2-year starter.
Yeah, so Nico Collins, he's more in the mold of a Michael Pittman. He's 6'4", 215 pounds, real big guy. But he did have he led the team in receiving yards his junior year, and his senior year last year he led the team in receiving touchdowns. But like I said, 6'4", 215, ran a 4.4, 5.40, and he's got a vertical jump of 37.5 inches. So another guy that he's a speedster and a deep threat, and he can go up and get the ball, get those jump balls, which I think would be very helpful for Carson Wentz.
A good mix of size and speed.
Right. And he really has the thing that jumped out most to me on tape was the feel for defenders that he has. He really uses his body to shield off defenders and go up and get the ball. So that's something that I think was big for Nico Collins. But one thing that you see is he really isn't that great after the catch. And this is courtesy of The Athletic. It says only 29% of his receiving yardage came after the catch, which if you're in the Colts offense, you need to be a guy that produces yards after catch. So
but I don't know much about the design of the Michigan offense. Right. But the Colts offense is set up to give wide receivers the opportunity to gain yards after the catch. I mean, Michael Pittman Jr., as talented as he is, that one big touchdown, was that his first touchdown, that crazy long run? I mean, he almost didn't get touched. I mean, he was wide open. I mean, it was beautiful play design. And the Colts in general were one of the largest yards after catch teams in the league. So, the Colts give wide receivers that opportunity to improve that number. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, and I think one other thing with Nico Collins, and I would have to watch more film to see what it is, but he doesn't necessarily, the production wasn't there, but at the same time, Michigan's quarterback situation hasn't been great the past couple of years. So do you attribute that to Michigan's quarterback or is it more on Collins? I could see Collins being an option in the third round though, third or fourth round, kind of when the Colts are maybe thinking about taking a receiver. I think that's where Nico Collins' sweet spot is. Third round, maybe beginning of the fourth, I think is his floor. But if the Colts do trade back and get a third round pick, Nico Collins could be the pick.
All right, Andrew. And Josh Palmer, a receiver from Tennessee, a 4-year starter, 6'1", 210, right in that same range, only a 4.51, which, faster than me and you. This guy can get vertical, though. Anything super special about him?
Yeah, so he's a guy that I think if you're looking for a later round pick, maybe fourth, fifth round, Josh Palmer could be your guy. And one of the big things for him is he was at the Senior Bowl, and the Colts talked to him at the Senior Bowl. There's definitely interest there.
Ballard and Reich love the Senior Bowl.
They love the Senior Bowl. Ballard always gets guys from the Senior Bowl. He's got a really good, you talked about his size of being around 6'1", 210 pounds, 4'5", 40, almost kind of like a Reggie Wayne type build. He's got really good speed to go along with the size. But what you notice in his tape is he's a very clean catcher of the ball. And what I mean by that is he doesn't let the ball get to his chest, doesn't catch it with his body. He really sticks his hands away from his body and catches it firmly with his hands. And that's
where you catch a football.
So that's what you like to see as a young wide receiver. So that's definitely something that's a plus for him. And the thing is, he always showed up in big games. His two best games were against Alabama and against Georgia. So against high quality talent, that's when Josh Palmer had his best game. So that's definitely something to be aware of too. And like I said, I think he's a guy that's got potential. He's a guy that you can get in the fourth round. He does need to develop a little bit because he doesn't necessarily make a lot of splash plays. And again, he has the production it just wasn't there. Again, Tennessee, not a great quarterback situation, but Josh Palmer never had over 500 yards receiving in a single season. The most he had was 475, and only I think the most he had was 4 touchdowns. So you have to see whether it was an issue with him, an issue with the quarterback situation, just the guys around him. But a guy that you can definitely take a flyer on mid-round, and he's a solid pro for you.
All right, Andrew, let's move along to tight end. I cannot believe the guys you have on this list. I mean, these guys you have written down are second rounders. Like projected to go in the second round. Do you think there's a chance in hell we use our second round pick on a tight end?
I think if the Colts trade back and could get another second rounder or even a third rounder, if one of these guys slips to the third round,
okay,
I think so. Now, one thing that goes against my thinking here is Chris Ballard has never drafted a tight end with the Colts. I think the last time the Colts drafted a tight end was actually 2013. So we're going on 8 years since the Colts drafted one. But I think it's time because Jack Doyle is 31 years old in the final year of his contract. We don't know how we love Jack Doyle.
I love Jack Doyle, but I'm not super positive about his future with the team after this year.
How long is he going to be with the team? And other than that, it's Mo Alley-Cox, who, I mean, you see the flashes here and there, but are you gonna put all your eggs in that basket of Mo Alley-Cox being the future of the tight end position for the Colts? I'm not comfortable with that.
Sure.
And while this tight end class, it's not very deep. There's only, if you're going to get a guy, you're going to want to strike on one of these top guys because the bottom of this tight end class is not good. It really is not. So if the Colts do trade back and end up getting another second round pick or a third round pick and one of these guys slips, I could see that happening. I mean, you've heard Irsay all season talk about how we need that weapon at tight end.
Sure.
Well, we got to get it through the draft.
And let's talk about what we need there, Andrew, because I mean, two of the guys you got listed are not big time athletic passing threats. And one is more of that type. What do you think we're going to be looking for, the better blocking tight end, or do you think and try to develop them into a pass catcher, or vice versa?
So I think it just kind of depends on the prospect. I mean, because the Colts always want to have their tight ends to be willing blockers. It's required. Even Trey Burton was a guy that was a willing blocker and really tried to block. Now, and if you have a guy like an Eric Ebron who isn't going to block, his snaps are going to go down tremendously. Eric Ebron never played more than about 50% of the snaps.
Eric Ebron stinks.
Just because he couldn't block. So that's something that the Colts are going to look for. But again, they want that mismatch down the field. They want that move F tight end is what it's called in the system. A guy that can move all over the field and create those mismatches. And I think while especially one of these guys from out of Notre Dame that I'm a huge fan of, some of these guys have more receiving potential that I think was shown in college, and I think the Colts could help bring that out of them.
Well, let's start with Brevin Jordan, Miami tight end, 3-year starter, 6'2", 247, ran a 4.67, and this is the guy that is going to be the more athletic passing threat. He had 13 touchdowns this past year and led the team with that number.
Yeah, so I think he had 13 touchdowns total. He had 7 touchdowns this past year. But Brevin is more of that mold athletic tight end, the guy that can create those mismatches down the field. He's a very athlete, and he's very good at accelerating into his routes, is what I find. And here's something that you have to keep in mind: very, very dangerous after the catch. I think he had the most yards after catch in the entire FBS out of all tight ends. And again, when you're in that Colts offense, yards after catch is a big thing.
I would think he's not even got the most in the state of Florida
because of
Pitts.
Incredible unicorn talent down in Gainesville of Kyle.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Can you imagine Kyle Pitts in a Frank Reich offense?
No, he cannot.
Oh my God. It'd be MVP.
Number 4 pick.
First tight end MVP. But Brevin Jordan is a guy that you see having success in the Colts offense. And the thing is too, while he's not the greatest blocker, obviously he's a very willing blocker, and you see him giving effort. And I think with the Colts coaching, that can just get better. So I think if you're looking for that more of a receiving tight end, Brevin Jordan is going to be your option. Again, second or third round is probably where he's going to go. But if you can get him in that third round area, I think he'd be a pretty big asset for the Colts. And
he only missed 7 games in 3 years, which, I mean, that could be 2, 2, and 3. I don't even remember. I saw it, but still, 7's not that bad in 3 years. It's not ideal, but could be worse. Here's the one Andrew's talking about from Notre Dame. Tommy Tremblay. 2-year starter.
Tommy Tremble is one of my favorite players in this. Tremblay. It's Tremble, you freaking noob. 6'3", 241 pounds. Dude's an absolute monster. And the thing about Tommy Tremble is Notre Dame didn't really use him much as a receiving tight end. But the thing is, when you look at his athletic traits, I think he can turn into more of a receiving tight end. He's got the ability to really work into his routes, and he uses his body because he's a very smart football player. He's one of those guys that can use his big frame to wall off defenders and make those catches down the field. And something that the Colts are going to love is just how great of a blocker Tommy Tremble really is. He multiple times you see him just bulldozing dudes down the field, and it's absolutely incredible to watch. So I think Tommy Tremble's a guy that would be available in the third round, and NFL scouts really like him. He's really well liked within the program, hardworking, humble. This is a guy that you can see as a blue card guy, and somebody that I think the Colts could really hone in on. Somebody that Frank Reich really paid attention to at that Notre Dame Pro Day, because some little insider information here. You see multiple pictures of Frank Reich next to the Notre Dame tight end coach pretty much the entire Pro Day there at Notre Dame watching Tommy Tremble. So keep your eye on Tommy Tremble probably on day 2. See if the Colts pick him.
Big J journalism.
You like that? You like that?
What I've got some negatives on Tremblay. Could he? I think he could have used a year or 2 more in college. He only played 2 years and decided to declare very early. 0 touchdowns in 2020. I just think he could have used more time to develop. In the right system, he can develop there. But he is a good blocker. Those are some notes I had on him. Let's keep it moving here. Hunter Long, Boston College, 2-year starter, 6'5", 254, ran a 4.68. Another guy that is a good blocker.
Yeah, 6'5", 250, kind of the prototypical size for a tight end. And he really didn't have as much experience as a receiving tight end until this past year. They really started using him more, and he ended up leading leading all of college football in catches for a tight end. He had even more than Kyle Pitts. I think he had 57. But he's got really strong hands, and you notice that he kind of reminds me of a Jack Doyle a little bit with just how he catches everything. And again, one of those guys that catches the football away from his body. Only had 4 drops on 101 catchable targets the past 2 seasons. Pretty damn good. He's a guy that's able to adjust in traffic, and he doesn't, the ball doesn't really have to be a perfectly placed ball for him to catch it. Got a very wide catch radius, which makes it easy for a quarterback. Like Carson Wentz. So very, very intelligent, very strong football character. Something that obviously we've said it numerous times the Colts love, and a guy that I could see fitting in as that move tight end. Now, is he going to come in and immediately shock the world and be a huge asset? No, I think gonna take him. I think it's going to take him a little bit. It's going to take him maybe a year or two, but I think he can develop into a solid tight end.
I agree. I mean, we'll see. By the way, I forgot. Christian Dareus, Andrew, girthy indeed.
Girthy indeed.
Let's move it along here. Finally, after some arguing on our Twitter, someone broke this first, Andrew, and he wanted us to know that he said this before anybody else. Cornerback TJ Carey signs a 1-year, $2 million deal, re-signs with the Colts. Great depth piece. I thought he played good football. I think he had a pick or two. Solid pickup by Chris Ballard last year. Happy to have him back this year.
Yeah, he had a pick 6 last year. He was the one that recovered the blocked punt for a touchdown against Tennessee. It was probably Chris Ballard's most underrated signing in the free agent period of last year. TJ Carey really came in, added some depth, and he was actually getting more snaps than Rock Ya-Sin at the end of the year because of Rock's struggles. So glad to have Carey back. It makes it so cornerback isn't as big of a need going into the draft. I still think the Colts want to address the cornerback position to put some pressure on Rock Ya-Sin, because Jim Irsay said today in an interview that they would love to have 3 special talents at corner. And they think they have 2 right now.
Yeah.
So that'd be Xavier Rhodes and Kenny Moore. So one, that doesn't bode well for Rock Ya-Sin, and 2, that could mean that a cornerback could be one of the earlier picks for the Colts as well.
Sure. Yeah, I like to. I don't think Rock was hoping for TJ Carey to get re-signed, secretly in his head. Also, some Colts free agency news. Wide receiver Zach Pascal and safety George Odom officially sign their RFA tenders.
Yeah, we knew this was going to happen. Just
have been waiting for it.
Yeah. And so that both quality guys, both guys help the team. Love to see it.
Finally, did we have a 2-week break from with the next pick? It felt like 2 weeks.
It was on Wednesday when you were heading to South Carolina, but we
already in South Carolina.
We don't have a episode this week, I think. So it would have been happening tonight.
There's 2. Again, probably not allowed to use this image. Courtesy of the Colts. Thank you. With the next pick, episode 2, Andrew, they might as well have called it Frank Reich and Carson Wentz.
The bromance.
I suppose this episode is kind of about the draft in a way because we gave up a draft pick for him. I guess.
Yeah.
And then a little TY sprinkled in the end. First question, Andrew. Who beat the shit out of Frank Reich?
I
think he had black eyes as well as those 2 sores, which I feel bad if it's like a skin thing. But I think it is because I
I was looking on Twitter, people were talking about it, and like, what's wrong with Frank Reich? And so people were saying that it's because of the mask, that the mask rubbing on people's cheeks can actually develop those sores. So, yeah, poor Frank Reich, man, he's going through it.
Somebody kicked his ass. You know what? I'm going to say it because I don't want you to take any of my quotes. You always have more notes. So I'm going to say it. This is with the next pick, Brandon edition. Chris Ballard says, anytime we make a trade, and this was right in the beginning, stood out to me. Anytime we make a trade, we want it to be a win for both sides. And to somebody who doesn't realize that every relationship in the NFL is ongoing and you just never know when you're going to need that relationship again. Although it's advantageous for you to completely just burn somebody on a trade and like, know you got the better end of the deal, you screw a relationship there. And so, Ballard, an ethical guy, a blue chip guy himself, blue card guy himself, I don't think he's trying to screw anybody. I think the Carson deal was fair.
I think so too, because I think the Colts will get the better end of the deal, obviously, because you'd rather have a franchise quarterback than draft picks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they gave up a high pick for Carson Wentz. But they didn't have to give the farm for Carson Wentz, I should say. So, I think if Carson Wentz can play to the level I think he's capable of under Frank Reich, the Colts will gladly give that first round pick, which will be a low first round pick, I should say, within the 20s to 30s, hopefully, rather than go this year without a quarterback and end up having to pick high in the draft.
Yep. So what did you think of the episode aside from what I've talked about so far?
I think it really just showed, we knew Frank Reich and Carson Wentz had a connection.
Yeah.
But to hear that story of how they rode back together from his pro day, and Frank Reich says a Bible verse that means near and dear to him. And it's the same Bible verse that's on Carson Wentz's lock screen on his phone. Just incredible. It's like it's meant to be. These guys hit it off from the very beginning, and that's why you just have to. I think that puts more confidence, and that just shows the trust that these guys have, the connections these guys have, and why I think it's gonna work. Why I think Carson Wentz and Frank Reich is going to work in Indianapolis, and we're going to see a Carson Wentz that we all have seen before, and we know the level he can play to. And I think it's just that not only that connection on a faith level, but that connection as a player, as a coach. They trust one another. They can bounce ideas and bounce different things off one another. It's something that there's. I just think they're going to be so in sync that it's going to work, and it's going to elevate Carson. And Frank's going to put him in positions to succeed all year long. So I really just can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it too. I thought the episode stunk, though, to be completely honest with you.
You wanted to see more behind the scenes of the draft.
Yeah,
stuff
it just seemed like a lazy episode. I don't know how much of this was actually new footage or anything like that. If this episode were in a season of Game of Thrones, it'd be in season 1 or season 8. Just not one of the good ones. I don't even have to look at the comments, and I know what's coming from Skylar. They also did talk about T.Y. and his importance, and basically set up what they think the connection between T.Y. and Carson's going to be. Other than that, that's about it.
I think it does say something, though, when they did trade for Carson Wentz. Frank Reich immediately texted T.Y. and said, this guy's got Andrew-like qualities. I think that kind of shows T.Y. Hilton's role in this offense isn't going to look like how it did the past couple of years. I think we're going to see a more involved T.Y. Hilton, and I think the offense is going to be game planned more around T.Y. Hilton's strengths rather than just using T.Y. Hilton as a decoy, because we have a quarterback that his strengths match well with T.Y. Hilton's strengths, and that's exciting to hear if you're a Colts fan and you know how big T.Y. Hilton means to the success of the Colts.
last thing on the Colts today, I heard Peter King say this week, Andrew, that the Colts for sure did reach out to Andrew Luck and completely verify, like, I need to know 100% you have no inkling, no itch to come back, because if you do, we want you. If not, we're going to get Carson Wentz. And
right.
that's so they wanted to make sure beforehand. So, I mean, Andrew Luck's still the guy. Andrew's
still the guy.
But that's it. That's the door officially. I think that's the official closing of the door. It's over. It's been over. But now we know, like, if what Peter King is saying is true, it's done.
Let's leave. It's time to leave the man alone. It's time to let the man be retired.
One more thing.
Enjoy being a dad and enjoy his life.
One more thing, and I don't even know if this is in the notes about news around the league, but the single digit thing went through, and basically the NFL is releasing or making the rules on who can wear what numbers based on position a little more lenient. And Darius Leonard tweeted something about how cool it would be to be in 10 again. He tweeted about it. Please don't, Dareus. Please don't, Maniac.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, I did put it in the league news, which I have.
I wish I had the Michael Scott. No, God, no.
I'll tell you why I don't think Dareus will be switching to 10 at least this year. He might next year, but at least this year he won't.
You better not. That jersey was not cheap for my mother, who got it for me for Christmas. It even has its own custom stitch in it because it came torn, remember? All right. News around the league. Patriots have terminated the contract of wide receiver Julian Edelman, listed as a failed physical soon after Edelman announced his retirement. And honest to God, it was the most dramatic, stupid thing I've ever watched. Dude, go eat a pizza and shut the fuck up. You know, I've had pizza in at Julian Edelman's favorite pizza joint in Boston.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you ought to go have a slice and shut the fuck up. I'm laying on that. Go ahead.
Julian Edelman. I mean, he was a good player, real good player. He terrorized the Colts for many years. Thank God he's not going to be terrorizing the Colts anymore. I kind of hated how people were immediately saying, "Oh, does he belong in the?" Number one, the dude just retired. Let the dude enjoy his retirement.
I don't give a shit.
Number two, he's not going in the Hall of Fame. He's not supposed.
If Reggie goes to the Hall of Fame,
if Reggie Wayne isn't even in the Hall of Fame, Julian Edelman sure as hell isn't going to the Hall of Fame. So I saw a couple days ago they were comparing Julian Edelman. Now I know his postseason stats. His postseason stats are incredible.
They're not that much better than Reggie's.
But they're his postseason stats, I would say, are at a Hall of Fame level. His regular season, no.
Not even
his
close.
Regular season stats compared to Jeremy Macklin's. You want to put Jeremy Macklin?
I would be willing to bet 70%. I would be willing to bet 70% of the people listening to this podcast right now don't know who Jeremy Macklin is, and I know who Jeremy Macklin is. I was being a smartass.
So Julian Edelman, great career, hell of a winner. You're not a Hall of Famer.
All right. I'm done spending time on that guy that's definitely not a Hall of Famer. Free agent signings around the league. Defensive end, thank God, Jadeveon Clowney gets signed by the Browns. The Colts were coming out as a betting favorite all of a sudden. I'm like, what are we talking about here? No.
Yeah.
Who else was it? Alec, we'll get there. Running back James Conner signs with Cardinals. I did not know that. I told you I was so disconnected. Defensive end Aldon Smith signs with the Seahawks. Good for them.
All goes to the Seahawks, and then he just turned himself in the other day in Louisiana for battery, second-degree battery. So,
and I thought he was back on track. Can we bounce back to Clowney real quick? Do you think you're going to see a large increase in production this year with Myles Garrett on the opposite end of him?
I do think being across from Myles Garrett, it will have impact on him. Do I think Jadeveon Clowney is going to have double-digit sacks all of a sudden? No. Do I think he'll have more of an impact? Yes.
He'll have more than 0 sacks?
Yes, because I think you won't be able to double team them both. And the pass rush for the Titans last year, while he didn't have much production, he was getting double because they just didn't have anybody else. So with you, Myles Garrett getting all the attention, Clowney's going to sneak through for a few this upcoming year.
He does stop the run well, by the way. I mean, we shit on him a lot. He wrecks plays. He just doesn't get sacks.
I really like what the Browns are doing on defense. The Browns defense is damn good.
They're going to be
Clowney.
They're going to be good. I think the Browns. I think the Browns win the North this year.
I think the Browns could very well be the AFC North champions. You're right. I'd be on that bandwagon.
They could be a number 1 or 2 seed.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I don't get this move. Running back Giovanni Bernard signs with the Bucks. What?
Yeah, I didn't really get it either. He's probably going to play third fiddle behind Fournette and Ronald Jones.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense to me. But I mean, he's about third fiddle talent anymore anyway. But wide receiver Marquise Goodwin signs with the Bears. All they need is a quarterback. Steelers announced, this is good for Mr. Hold on. Okay.
We do not care.
Let's try that again.
We do not care.
Steelers announced head coach Mike Tomlin has agreed to a 3-year contract extension through 2024. He does care about that because,
So
sorry to the Steelers fans are every single fucking year saying fire Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin's a phenomenal coach.
Yeah,
phenomenal. So listen to this. Another fun fact. Which he will, but when Mike Tomlin finishes out this contract extension through 2024, the Steelers will have had 3 coaches in 56 years.
That is outrageous.
That's incredible. Just great coach after great coach after great coach.
That's what happens when you're winning. All right. NFL offseason program schedule. I'm going to go ahead and let you sum this up, Andrew. Have some fun.
So there's been a whole bunch of teams and there's been some mess about players not wanting to do it. Well, the first phase, which has started this week of the off-season program, is all virtual meetings. Teams can work out at the facility, but there's no work with coaches. And then once it's after the draft, the second phase, which is the first phase goes for 4 weeks. So the first month, all virtual. The second phase is 1 week, and that's virtual meetings, and they start doing on-field drills. That's about the middle of May. And then towards the end of May for the till middle of June, that's OTAs, where for a month they're all going to be there. Then there's the mandatory mini camp at the end. So we are starting to get the off-season program underway, which is good to see. And then hopefully we'll be able to get some news about how OTAs are going and everything, so we can provide you with kind of what the Colts are looking like towards the beginning to middle of June.
Okay. And also, Andrew, we got some NFL rule changes. These are the approved ones, correct?
These are the approved ones, and they just came out today. So that's pretty big news. Number 1, overtime in the preseason eliminated.
Gone.
Gone, which is a good thing. We don't care who wins in the preseason.
Does not matter.
No need for overtime.
We do not care.
There we go. Another rule change is that, and this is going to help. This is going to help onside kicks. So one of the rules, and it's just a 1-year trial period, but it's going to change how they line up for onside kicks. So the kicking team or the receiving team can't put as many guys on that side, which will definitely help the kicking team be able to recover more onside kicks, because it seems like when you do an onside kick, you hardly can ever pick it up nowadays, which kind of makes it boring
and worthless.
Yeah. The replay rule that we talked about, where they were going to have that sky judge, it kind of got tweaked, where now they're not going to have an 8th official like as a sky judge, but they are going to have an official that if there is a blatantly missed call, they'll be able to tell them, hey, it was a missed call. They can't pick up flags and they can't throw flags,
right?
But if they get a call wrong, they can tell them, hey, you missed it one way or another. Yeah. So that's good. Another one was the changes to the jersey numbers to allow more positions to wear more jersey numbers. Now, you said how Darius Leonard wanted to change to 10. So if a player changes their number before this upcoming season, they would have to buy all of the unsold inventory of that jersey in order to change their number. So all of the Darius Leonard 53 jerseys that are unsold, he would have to buy or write a check to pay for all of those if he does change his number to 10.
Damn.
So, but
motherfucker better buy mine back too.
But if
give me a fair swap.
If he changes to 10 for like 2022 season, like in a year, gives him plenty of advance notice, then he wouldn't. But just for this upcoming year, if they want to change it for this upcoming year, they would have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then pretty much that was all the major rule changes. Sure. Really, the other ones aren't too much to talk about, but just some little tweaks here and there. I think the other official rule, it will be, hopefully, if it's used properly, it will help some of the egregious calls to go away.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
All right, and to wrap up the week, quarterback Alex Smith announces his retirement from the NFL. But also, good for Alex Smith. He was one of the 3 remaining quarterbacks left from his draft class. Him, Aaron Rodgers, and Mr. Fitzmagic. Incredible comeback this last year. Andrew Luck, Alex Smith, both retire the year right after they received Comeback Player of the Year. And Alex Smith also, the Colts were the final betting favorite to sign Alex Smith. And I don't
as
know
a veteran backup.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, incredible career by Alex Smith. Pro's pro. From coming back, I think it's still one of the most incredible stories in all of sports, for almost losing your leg to coming back and playing football in the National Football League after such a gruesome injury like that. Absolutely incredible. So good for Alex Smith. Hopefully he enjoys retirement, and pretty still an amazing feat that he was able to come back from.
All right, guys, that's it. One of our longest episodes of most definitely our longest episode this year. Not ever, but this year for sure. So thanks for sticking with us. If you did, thanks for joining the live stream. Those of you who are on, oh boy, there we go. Don't forget to go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the things at the Educated Fan. That's at TheEhDucatedFan. You know the rules, not spelled again. Oh, Andrew, by the way, I did star recently on another podcast. I don't know if I told you.
I think you did.
I was a recent guest on the Bald by Choice podcast, which I'm an active participant of and listener of, as well as I have my own segment. Pretty much the show's about me. The logo's designed after me. So I should be a normal host every week. However, I'm not. I was just taking place for a buddy of mine who was sick. But yeah, I've gotten a couple plugs on their show, so I thought I'd plug theirs a little bit.
Shout out to Skylar. Skylar's the host of that podcast.
Sky Blevs. Some call him Sky Blevs. Subscribe, like, comment, send it to your friends, tell your friends, be a friend, tell a friend. Yeah, that's it. Talk to you guys next week.
Take it easy.
Go Colts.
Go Colts.
I fucking love football, and I love you guys.